This tells me we're live, and today I wanted to talk about something that is meaningful and something that we have trouble with as a society, and lots of people that I know, and maybe you don't. I don't know, but this is a really interesting topic, and that is the power of no. Now, I wrote in the description that I wasn't really talking about no, although there might be times, there will be times when emphasis, perhaps volume, and double exclamation points are required. But I was thinking today, this morning, I get up early most mornings, and it's a choice that I make because I love getting up early. I love that part of the day. I love doing a bunch of things that I want to do, and then it's only 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock or something, and I look up and realize that it's still early. There's lots of day left, and it's a joyful thing. I do a lot of podcasting, both as a guest and as a host. I have a podcast called Your Ultimate Life, and if you don't subscribe to it, you should, but only if you're trying to create a life of purpose, prosperity, and joy. Like if you're not into purpose, prosperity, and joy, then you should definitely not listen to that podcast. But if you are, it's 15 minutes a day, and I've now suddenly found myself at episode 600 and almost 670. I recorded episode 669 yesterday, and I have several more scheduled and so forth. I plan to continue that forever because living the ultimate life is not a destination, it's a journey. Now, I define the ultimate life as a life of purpose, prosperity, and joy that you create by serving with your divine gifts. For me, what that means is I get up every day in love with the day, in love with you, in love with the opportunities, in love with myself, in love with my Creator, in love with my Savior. We just had Easter, and that was powerful and meaningful for me every year because I have had experiences that have brought really deeply home to me the literality of that event. More importantly, today we're talking about cleaning out our life with the beautiful word no. And I saw Chris Doris sent a thing. I'm on his email list, and he sends out a thing every day, which I really like. One of them a few days ago was something about no, and he said no is a complete sentence. And I love that, and I've seen it before, but it just reminded me of that truth. And we live with such trepidation, such fear about what people think about us. I have a name for that. It's called WITOT, W-I-T-O-T, and it kills more people than COVID. And it stands for what I think others think. And when I say it kills more people than COVID, I mean it kills more people than COVID. It kills dreams, it kills hopes, it kills relationships, it kills opportunity, it kills growth. Because often we find ourselves so infatuated or worried about what someone might be thinking that we don't do what we could do. We don't do what we want to do. We don't do what we feel we ought to do. We know we feel, I should do this. And then we don't. And we don't try, and we don't put in the effort or the time, or we say, oh, I'm going to do that. And then we don't put any time on the calendar so that it's possible, right? All those things are various ways of procrastinating and not executing on our goals and intentions. Someone asked me the other day if I thought it was really possible to live what I call the ultimate life, a life of real purpose, real prosperity, and joy by serving with your divine gifts. And I answered emphatically, yes. And they disagreed, and they thought, well, maybe some people can, but you really can't. And as we discussed further, I don't know for sure what this individual was thinking, but it felt like that he was trying to say everybody can't make a ton of money, and as if that were a requirement for happy. I just read a post that a friend of mine, Steve Hardison, put up a few years ago, and it was refreshed in the browser because someone made a comment on it. It was 6 years ago, but it was mostly very little, a couple of lines from Steve, but mostly a large quote from Michael Singer's book, The Untethered Soul. And it talked about choosing happiness, being happy. And this is something I now experience on a daily basis. I am happy. I am happy. I am happy. I am happy. I walk around happy. I feel happy. I radiate happy. I encourage others to be happy. I want you to be happy. Happy is attainable. It is achievable. You can have it, and you can have it now. One of the things I love about the ultimate life is that it's available now. You can have, the ultimate life, a life of purpose, prosperity, and joy that you create by serving with your divine gifts. Well, what prevents you from doing that today? Some people say, well, I have a job I hate. Well, then choose to love the job. Like, what would happen if you said no to yourself, to no to that negativity? I'm done with that negativity. I'm going to love this job. That doesn't mean that every piece of everything we do all day is the most fun thing in the world. I call everything housekeeping, right? Mowing lawns, cleaning gardens, sweeping sidewalks, shoveling snow, which we do plenty of here in Edmonton. It's little side note, hysterical. All the snow had melted, and I thought it was getting warm, and then yesterday it snowed like this much, 2 inches. It's like, And my wife, Joyce, she went crazy. We're planning on moving this fall, in October probably, over to Vancouver Island off the coast of Vancouver because we want to get out of the cold and because we think it's fun to be over there. But anyway, here's the thing about being happy. You can choose to be happy digging a ditch, shoveling snow, and doing anything you want. It is literally, actually a choice, and you can argue with that if you want to, or you can experiment with it. Now, if you argue with it, it brings up negativity, it brings up resistance, and all of those create neurotransmitters in the body that are not fun, right? Opposition, negativity, conflict, those neurotransmitters are not fun. And here's where those come from. They come when you believe, or I believe, a thought. I think, I wish it hadn't snowed. I'm mad about that. That creates that feeling. So saying no is a great liberator. You know what it liberates? It liberates your calendar. It liberates your calendar. I challenge you to look through your calendar for the next 2 weeks. And as you look at each thing that is there for you to do, how does your heart feel? Are you excited about it, including things like going to work and, all that stuff? Are you happy about each of those things? If you're not, I honestly have a question. Why is it there? When I ask that question to people in person, usually the answer I get is because I have to, kind of HAFTA. I have to this and I have to that. I gotta. And the truth is, no, you don't. I don't. There might be unpleasant or undesirable consequences for not, but if you're going to do this anyway, whatever it is, go to work, mow the lawn, clean the house, do spring cleaning as it comes now, why don't we choose to be happy? Now, here's my challenge for all of us as we talk about this. You've watched part of this video, and I'm going to talk some more for a while because there's lots of ways this applies. But here's what I'm going to ask you to do. I challenge you to write your reactions as you go through your calendar and then make conscious choices. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do it joyfully and happy because I can. Because I don't have to be bogged down in the old ways. I'm going to say no at this minute to the old stories. Now, I have lived a ton of my life. I'm 66. Okay, I'm halfway through. I'm going to live till I'm 132. Why? Because I said so. But I've lived a big chunk of my life up to now not following the advice that we're talking about, not living in joy, living in fear, living in self-loathing, living in negativity, all that stuff. I have shed all that. I no longer feel that at all. I am today that I have no internal conflict. I am at peace all the time. Wow, how did I do that? Well, it wasn't easy, but it was worth it. One of the things that I did to get to a place where I'm at peace in my heart all the time is to learn to say no. No, I'm not able to do that. I don't mean shouting no with a negative thing. I often will say to someone, thank you for thinking of me. I'm not able to do that. It won't fit in my calendar this day or that day. Or I say, I could do that, but I won't be able to do it until X. And I give them a date. And if that date doesn't work, then that's okay. But that's when I would be able to do it, or be there, or say it, or read it, or do whatever it is. So my invitation first is for you to look at your calendar and use no as a tool for liberation. Now, when you do that in the near term, you might have things today or tomorrow that in retrospect you say, I should have said no. Okay, you have a choice. You can look at it and say, I'm going to call that person and say, I know I told you I was going to do this. I'm not. And deal with whatever consequences that brings. Or you can choose to say, and this is probably what I would do, I'm going to do it. I'm going to love doing it. I'm going to do it the very best I can, bleeding all over every sentence, and I use bleeding in a good way, putting forth the effort and energy that it takes to do a great job because I said I would, and then I'm not going to say yes next time. That's a choice, and that lets me be happy today. It lets me be happy while I'm doing it, and it lets me be integrity to what I've said. And then I've learned to say no. So the first place I want to invite you to look at the word no is your time. Take a hatchet, a machete. Steve Chandler in his book Time Warrior talked about, cutting out a lot of things. This T-shirt I'm wearing, Roar, Results on a Rampage is what it stands for. Joy had those designed, and I had an LA Talk radio show for a year and a half, once a week for an hour, called Results on a Rampage, and it talked about how to create extraordinary results in any area of your life, in your business, in your personal life, in your fitness, in your writing, if you're writing a book, in your marketing, in your prosperity and cash, in your prosperity and relationships, all those ways. Results on a rampage, they're possible. Here's the reason. You and I were divine beings. We're created by God with infinite power. Okay, most of the time we're scattered. And maybe this doesn't apply to you. I used to be really, really, really scattered. Oh, I got to do this and this. And the list of things I was going to do today was so long that I felt literally shredded by all the different fishhooks in my time and in my heart. Here's what I learned to do about that. That gave me time and joy. Number one, I said no a lot more. Number two, I made a choice to only do one thing at a time. Like actually only one thing. So, for example, when Joy, my beloved angel wife, is talking to me and the television's on or something else is going on, I turn it off and stop and just do that. Or I'll say to her, I can't hear you right now because I can't pay all the attention you deserve. Let me finish this. And it has gotten to joyfully and on purpose to where I cannot multitask. I choose not to multitask. And I love the liberation because it lets me do everything I'm doing 100%, all in. Now, this guy on the hill behind me, right? This guy sitting here, I don't imagine he's multitasking. I don't know. But I use this picture on purpose because he's saying no gently and kindly to everything else in his life except the feeling of being there in nature with nothing to do but be at peace in introspection in his own soul. Do you take time to do that? Another of the tools that I've worked on a lot and developed as I dug my way out of the decades of depression and everything. Maybe you don't know that. If you want to read where all the stuff that I learned came from, here's a book, Tightrope of Depression, My Journey from Darkness, Despair, and Death to Light, Love, and Life. And this tells a bit of the story of how I got where I am. Because I used to live a completely different kind of life. full of big positions and money and decisions and hecticness, and full of a lot of bad things: self-loathing, depression, struggle, self-sabotage, putting things off, not living in joy, not focusing completely on one thing at a time, all the things that I do now that are so much fun. So, number one, say no in your calendar. Go through the next 2 weeks and see if you're happy. Look at each appointment and see, does this thrill my soul for it to be on my calendar? If not, there are two questions. One, are you going to do it or not? And if you're not, you need to clean it up and fix it, or you need to do it with joy. The second thing is ask yourself how it got there. Like, who has authority to put stuff in your calendar? I don't know. Who does? And did you give it to him? And is it on purpose? And does it mesh with your goals? So one of the things that my wife, my beloved Joy, and I do is I'll say to her, put this on the calendar. I give her permission to put things on the calendar so that she and I have an agreement. She can do that. I'll honor him completely with joy and full attention. I love it every time I say with joy, because her name, of course, is Joy. And so with joy is a double meaning, and I love it, and I do it a lot. So do your calendar and go through the next 2 or 3 weeks and see how much joy each event inspires in you. And if it doesn't, or there are 1, 2, 5, 10, or a lot of those things that are, then do something about it. Use the word no. Either no to the event, no to the next time, or no to yourself in feeling bad about it. No in choosing negativity. So that's one place. Another place is no to lazy. There's a law, the second law of thermodynamics talks about things tend to go to the maximum entropy, which is disorganization. That's like, if I have a bowl and I drop a marble in it, it rolls back and forth until it gradually stops at the bottom, which is the lowest state of energy, right? Systems do that, and some science fiction writers have postulated that, that because of the law of entropy, eventually the entire universe is going to be this primordial soup of matter at nearly zero energy. It's not true. There is a counteracting force that is not able to be calculated in the laws of physics, and that is agency. See, when you take the idea that it is simply the assemblage of matter that creates intelligence, we miss the point. Intelligence exists in a separate plane, a separate way, with some kind of higher order matter we don't understand. But the point is, you and I were given choice. You have choice, and that's where this whole no thing comes from. We say yes or we say no. The problem is we usually straddle the middle. And we say, okay, and we're neither saying yes or no. Now think about that. If I do something half-baked, or I do something frustrated about it, I've really said neither yes nor no. Wow, what a waste of energy. So here's the next challenge with no. Every single thing you say, talk slower, listen more to your words before you say them, and decide. This is something I love doing. Talk slower, listen more. And am I saying yes? Like all in yes? And if I can't say that, then the answer is no. Even if it's graciously and gratefully, yes or no. That distinction alone will energize your day. And here's why. Doing things half-baked, doing things, that is an energy suck. So there's not only the energy that it takes to do whatever it is, there's the energy to be upset about it, to be frustrated with it, to be negative about it. And that doubles the requirement of energy to do whatever it is. It's a fact that it takes half the muscles in the face or something to smile than it does to frown. Now, I don't remember where I saw that, but I've seen it in a lot of places, and maybe it's an urban myth, but I think it's true. Well, it takes half the energy to say yes and do something all in than it does to do it half-baked. It's way easier to say no graciously and then move on to what you've said yes to than to say, no, I don't think I can, or to make up a lie, tell a little white lie, and then live in the frustration of not telling the truth and that negative energy of feeling guilty. So drop the drama, say either yes and do it all in with all the love and joy and power in your heart, or say no. And that way you're doing a service to yourself and to the person who asked. The world isn't going to end if you or I say no. Another place, so there's the schedule. There's saying yes or no. Another place is inside, and this will be the last one we talk about today, but the one inside might be the most powerful. I don't know about you, but I spent decades believing with all my heart a falsehood. And the falsehood was that I'm not okay. I'm not good enough. There's something wrong with me. I don't know. Maybe you've believed that too. It's not true. You're a divine, beautiful creation. You may not have everything done you want to get done, or you may not be in the shape you want to be in. I've been in all those places. But intrinsically, without any add-ons, you're a valuable, beautiful person. So one of the things that no will liberate you from is self-doubt and self-loathing. Those emotions are not constructive. They don't create, they don't build, they don't add love, they don't add prosperity, and they don't help you live your purpose. So choosing to say no to self-doubt, choosing to say no to unhappiness, choosing to say no when the nibbler on the shoulder says, oh, you can't do that, you shouldn't, you won't, blah, 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 blah. Just say no. And to quote Chris's thing one more time, and he was quoting someone else, I'm sure, no is a complete sentence. Not shouting, not angry, but in the greatest amount of love, say no a lot more often. And watch how much liberation you get from that choice. We'll see you next time.